I don't know the guy who was Santa Claus before me, or the guy who came after. All I know is that on December 24th, 2015, it was my turn. I was in an airport bar at the time, stranded between flights due to a sudden blizzard. Everybody around me looked as miserable as I felt. None were going to make it to our families on time for Christmas. I sat there with a flat root beer, texting with my girlfriend Faye and batting away the occasional offer of something stronger from the bartender. Dinner wasn't that good anyway, Faye said. You didn't miss much. I'll make it up to you guys, I replied. Faye and I had just visited my mother in Boston, but my mom came down with the flu during our trip. I stayed behind an extra few days to take care of her. Faye flew out to her parents' house in Colorado, and I expected to meet her there before Christmas dinner. Somebody grumbled behind me. Goddamn snowstorm's getting heavier? You kidding me? I glanced over and saw a chubby guy in a Celtics jersey staring incredulously at the bar TV. A clatter of glass landing on the counter in front of me made me jump. Found some private reserve in the back, a man said. When I looked down, I saw a bottle of a Abita root beer frothing and fizzing all over itself. Some of the foam ran down over a set of withered fingers. My eyes followed them to a gnarled hand, then up a twiggish arm and into the face of a young man. On the house, he continued. Other guys on break. I won't say anything if you don't. Thanks dude, I said, taking the bottle and knocking back a few slugs. I tried to hide my disgust for the man's hand. He stared at me, smiling, unblinking, until I set the bottle back onto the table. Merry Christmas, he said, and turned away. I tried to speak, but the words died at my lips. The bar went vertical, and my head slammed into the counter. I could hear myself snoring even before the darkness took me. I woke up to my feet sliding across smooth linoleum. Chatter in some guttural language emanated all around me, washing into my mind on waves of dizziness. Those claw-like hands gripped my arms and neck. Lights passed over my head, illuminating the warped faces of three strange men. I was being dragged somewhere. I heard doors crash open and slam shut. I felt the sting of winter wind on my face. I saw the glitter of runway lights. I smelled something that invoked memories of my grandpa's horse stables. And then my body collided with a wooden seat. The hands tore off my clothes and wrapped me in something warm and velvety. Someone slapped my face. Jagged fingernails sliced their way down my cheek. Wake up, asshole, a familiar voice called out, I mumbled. Nobody goes willingly, the man replied. He leaned over me and tightened a seatbelt around my waist. As his face neared mine, I saw a pointed ear jutting from his hair. Dead skin curled up from its edges, and a dirty earring dangled from it. Who the fuck are you people? I spat. I could feel my senses returning. My vision blurred once more, and the impact of another hand seared my face. All you gotta do is take the bag to the chimney, someone said over my shoulder. Spirit does the rest. What? I said. What spirit? I tried to look behind me, but a fist pummeled the back of my head. The spirit of Christmas, you fucking chucklehead. I demanded an explanation for all this. The men whispered to each other in that impossible, horrific language. All around me, colorful beacons glowed and blinked in straight lines. As far as I could tell, we were on the runway. The man who'd spiked my drink sat down next to me. His voice softened. Behind me, his buddies prepped whatever vehicle we sat in. Look, the man said, this isn't fun. It never is. Not even for us. You've been chosen to do a job, and you're gonna do it. Then you get to go home. No time lost. No one will know you're gone. There's no way you can fuck this up if you just do as you're told. I looked down at the clothes they'd shoved over me. It was a stained and ragged Santa costume. Are you out of your fucking mind? I shouted, struggling against my seatbelt. The man was on me like lightning, clutching my throat with those sandpaper hands and digging those putrid fingernails into my windpipe. He pulled me toward him and held my face over the side of the vehicle. Now we floated 100 feet above the runway. A passenger jet circled in the gray overhead. "You are Santa," he growled. "This is your sleigh. And those," he stabbed a finger into the air before him, "those are exactly what the fuck you think they are." Dangling midair in front of the sleigh were a dozen darkened forms, prominently crowned with racks of antlers. A string of Christmas lights popped on across their ranks, revealing their wretched details. The figures were people, naked and brutalized and strung together in razor wire. Their broken limbs dangled uselessly like the legs of a wasp in flight, and their bodies were bent into prone submission. The antlers appeared to be shining white bones, recently torn from 100 arms and legs and fingers and set into the skulls of their wearers with rusty nails. The words "what the fuck is that" tried to escape my mouth, but only sputtered gasps made it through. "Those are the ones who refused," the man whispered into my ear. One of the reindeer looked back at me for just a moment. Icicles encrusted his mournful eyes, and a deathly pallor blued and grayed his features. He tried to speak, but his lips had been sewn shut. "But I'm not Santa," I stammered against the howling wind. My whole body shook. "Santa's not really a person," the man replied, draping an arm around my shoulder. "He's more of a title. That's the magic of Christmas, buddy. You only have to do this shit once." "But why me?" "Because you understand," he said. "Your childhood was filled with wonderful Christmases. You've got a good family. And now it's your responsibility to keep the magic alive for a new generation of kids. I'll check in with you. Don't let me down. And by the way, don't worry about the list. The bag handles all that now." The man retrieved a barbed whip from the floor of the sleigh and cast it out over the reindeer. It sliced up the line of creatures and cracked against the lead one, sending ribbons of blood spraying into the frozen air. Muffled groans of agony wafted from their sealed mouths, and then the man simply leaped off the sleigh and vanished into the night. His friends followed suit. The sleigh took off, cutting winding paths through the darkness and soaring above the storm. I clung in terror to the handrail beside me, praying I was on some kind of heroic dose acid trip and that I'd wake up soon. We sailed over little towns and across bodies of water. Eventually, my gruesome chariot descended upon a neighborhood, and we thumped down onto a quaint little house replete with ornaments and lights. For a long moment I just sat, too scared and cold to move. One of the reindeer men looked back at me and snarled, beckoning me to do my job or else. I reached into the back of the sleigh and retrieved a heavy sack. The thing felt scratchy and oozed with foul liquids I dared not ponder. The entire thing looked like a patchwork of human scabs and gore. "Just take the bag to the chimney," the man's voice echoed in my head. I skinned the roof and found no chimney, only a little exhaust pipe that probably vented a stove or bathroom. I reluctantly approached. The reindeer watched me in silence as I looked over the thing, trying to figure out what to do. My first idea was to empty the contents of the sack one by one into the pipe. As I reached into the bag, an unspeakable pain ignited in my toes. I collapsed onto the roof, holding my feet and trying not to scream. The fiery sensation shot up my feet, then my shins, then my thighs. The sickening crackle of bones snapping rang out in the night, followed shortly by my terrified wails. My shaking, malformed legs bent into unholy angles and stretched themselves out toward the pipe. They went in, and the rest of my body with them, as I writhed in agony against the otherworldly force that possessed me. I slid down the pipe in a jumble of shattered bones, then shot out onto the floor of a dark room. My body reinflated, the bones set painfully infused, and my organs redistributed themselves to their proper homes. I lay there for what felt like 10 minutes, gathering myself and forcing air into my blistering lungs. The disgusting sack of presents lay just beside me. I was inside someone's house. A stranger's house. He could have a gun. He could shoot me dead where I lay. I could be arrested. If anyone catches me, I'll be stuck in a ward with the psychos till the end of my days. A million thoughts invaded my mind, but they were soon replaced by the image of the reindeer. I had a job to do, and by God, I was going to do it. I picked up the sack and stumbled through the house until I saw the glow of a Christmas tree. I approached it, dumped the contents of the sack all over the ground, and headed for the front door. As I did, that fiery pain reignited in my feet, and soon I found myself face down on the carpet, sliding backwards toward the room I'd landed in. I screamed, and voices arose in the bedroom upstairs. A large man rushed down the staircase, but I was back in the pipe and up on the roof before he saw me. I clambered into the sleigh, tears and snot drenching my face, and shouted for the ugly creatures to fly. They didn't budge. I urged them with a gesture, but they refused to move. They only stared into me. Some of them didn't even have eyes. Black divots yawned from their skulls and dripped blood down their pasty cheeks. I reluctantly grabbed the whip, but before I used it, a Christmas carol played in my head, on Dasher, on Dancer, on Prancer and Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, on Donner and Blitzen. I croaked the words into the night and felt the sleigh lurch. Soon, we were in the air again, and moments later, we were on another roof. It took several minutes to find the courage to even move. I lay there in the sleigh, fantasizing that this was all a nightmare and that I'd wake up soon. But when the reindeer started to become restless and agitated, I retrieved the sack and found it inexplicably full again. I stepped out onto the roof, and to my relief, saw a chimney stack. The ride down wasn't as painful. Only a few bones broke this time, mostly in my skull and jaw. My arrival had interrupted a couple having sex beside their tree. I ignored their petrified gazes and dropped the presents where I stood. "Merry Christmas, motherfuckers," I grumbled. Then, I folded over backwards, groaning at the crunch of my spine, and slithered back up the chimney. The woman's horrified screams followed me. And so this continued for hours. I covered block after block, surrendering to the misery of pain and cold that haunted every minute of the journey. I had no gloves, and my shoes were woefully unfit to keep me warm so high up in the air. Snow caked every inch of my clothes and turned to water each time I entered a house. I never stopped trembling. Atop one roof, just before I snuck down another chimney, the man from the bar appeared. "How's business?" he asked. He grinned, flashing me a row of jagged teeth. "Fuck you," I replied, tossing the bag into the chimney. It slid down with a slurping noise. "Need anything? You got a gun?" The man laughed and approached me. "Now don't go trying anything stupid," he said, brushing some of the snow from my coat. "You jump off that roof, you'll just get sucked right back up here, same way as the chimney. You try to run away, we'll find you. You think you're the first guy to plot an escape?" The man wrapped an arm around me and directed my gaze to the reindeer. "Hey Dasher," he called out, "tell this schmuck how you got your name." One of the reindeer lowered his head in fear. His antlers clattered against the razor wire that imprisoned him. "And what happens if I grab one of those kitchen knives down there and slit my own throat?" I asked, challenging the man. "Your Christmas spirit got a plan for that too?" The twisted joy on the man's face vanished. "No," he replied. "In fact, it dies. Not just for you, but for everyone." He looked out over the town. An ocean of Christmas lights glimmered as far as I could see. All those kids. I shoved the man away and trudged over to the chimney. "What do I eat?" I called out. "I'm fucking starving. I've been doing this for hours." The man smiled again. Hope you like cookies and milk, buddy. I'm lactose intolerant, I shot back. Well, he said, looking around at the roof, you can eat snow. Fucking prick, I mumbled, and dove into the chimney. On and on I marched, across rooftops and down chimneys and vents and pipes. I even slid through the cracks beneath old windows and doors. Once, I seeped in through a leak in the attic. I dropped presents and wolfed down cookies. I drank milk in faucet water and sometimes raided fridges. I shat in strangers' toilets and told little kids who spotted me to go fuck themselves. All I wanted to do was get back to my girlfriend, my family, my life. But it never ended. After thousands of houses, I lost count. I lost track of time. The world blurred into an endless night of repetitive tasks. I slept between cities and over oceans. I warmed myself by the fires people had left burning and scorched myself on them as I left. Unspeakable burns and blisters and cuts and bruises crisscrossed my wretched form, but the suit always remained the same, weathered, but functional. Tens of thousands of homes passed. Countless little towns. Infinite arrays of apartment buildings. I mostly navigated those by sliding around in the septic tanks and crawling out of toilets. I ate and slept and delivered presents. I snarled at anyone who saw me. I aged. My body expanded beneath the weight of all those cookies. My face plumped. My cheeks reddened. My hair grayed and dyed to winter white. Madness festered in the depths of my mind, at first only whispering nonsense to keep me entertained, but then the voices darkened and commanded me to live out their fantasies. An ineffable, psychotic boredom compelled me to play pranks. I switched the name tags on presents. I unwrapped some of them so the kids couldn't. I loomed over people in the dark and watched them as they slept. I shook with jealous rage as they enjoyed their holiday. I wanted to hear them scream as I did every time my bones collapsed inside me. So I hurt them. I bludgeoned them with presents. I carried the whip inside with me, and sometimes flayed the families I didn't like, the families without proper chimneys. I choked some of them to death. I wanted to see their faces turn as blue as the faces of my reindeer. I hid their bodies beneath their Christmas trees, and stuck little festive bows in their hair. But the night still wouldn't end. It went on and on for years, decades, and the sun never rose. Morning light never conquered the horizon. The howls of the wind never died. The snow never stopped falling. I lost track of everything. I lost my count, my path, my memories, my name. Lost it all to the dark. The only thing I could remember anymore was the solitary phrase I uttered, on Dasher, on Dancer, on Prancer and Vixen. On Comet, on Cupid, on Donner and Blitzen. And then on one occasion, as I slid down a chimney, I stumbled upon a little girl sleeping on a couch beside the tree. I hurled the presents to the floor, not caring if I woke her, and turned to leave. As I did, a tiny voice chirped out, "Santa." I whirled around, ready to growl a string of curses at her, but saw that she held out a green piece of paper with both hands. "I made this for you. I know you work really hard." I cautiously approached and took the paper from her hands. It had a drawing of me and 9 happy little stick figure reindeer, one with a glowing red nose. Gold and silver glitter caked the entire thing, and a scrawled message at the bottom read, "Thank you, Santa. Love, Kelly." "We were making Christmas cards at school," the girl went on. "I know lots of kids send you letters telling you what they want. But maybe nobody just makes you a thank you card. You're all alone on Christmas." The card went blurry as tears welled in my eyes. I tried not to let them fall. After a few seconds, I managed to find my voice. "Thank you, sweetheart," I said. "That was very nice of you. I'll keep this forever." The little girl threw her arms around my huge gut and hugged me. I ushered her back to the couch and tucked her in. "Merry Christmas," I whispered. I made sure Kelly's eyes were closed before I returned up the chimney. I made sure not to scream as my collarbone snapped and my ribcage caved in. The moment I reformed on the roof, a gnarled fist collided with my face. I saw the clouds. I felt the roof shingles on my back. And then I heard that familiar voice say, "Well done, kid." I awoke face down on the bar counter in the airport. People bustled all around me. The glass bottle of root beer sat beside me. My body was young and thin again, and warmth coursed through my veins. The man with the ugly hands approached me from behind the bar. "Don't miss your flight," he said, tapping his wrist with a clawed finger. I tried to speak. The heavy haze of sleep weighed down on me. "Everything's fine," he interrupted. "Get going. It's like I told you before." He flashed that fanged smile at me. "There's always time for Christmas."